Not messing about. National service. Should we reintroduce national service for young people in this country? Norman?
Absolutely. We need to be doing something. We've got children that are living in a lost generation. They have no values. They have no prospects. When you have no values and no prospects, you then get involved with other people that have similar attitudes. And before you know it, you're involved in a gang. And before you know it even more, you're carrying a knife, you're getting involved in crime. And before you know it even more, you're ending up in courts, in youth custody and prisons. We've got to divert some of these youngsters away from that type of life into something far more positive. And nobody seems to come up with any other solution. So why not national service for at least a year?
I see our left in the corner. Andy's chomping at the bit. He wants to come back at that. Andy, what do you think?
I think national service it's not a very good idea. The nature of our army and our armed forces, they're constantly shrinking because of the advances of technological warfare. If we want to do something with the youth unemployment, the youth in our country, we should be offering a reindustrialisation strategy, partnering with British businesses across the Midlands and the North and giving them skills that they can contribute to society with meaningfully.
A reindustrialisation strategy, that's a mouthful. Is that going to solve knife crime in London, Norman?
I doubt very much indeed. I mean, knife crime is at epidemic level, and the people I've just discussed have got involved in knife crime not because they necessarily want to, it's because they're frightened on the streets. They feel as though it's cool to carry a knife, and before they know it, they could be losing their own or somebody else's life could be lost. Now, in relation to all these strategies, all I've ever heard for the past decade or two is reasons why we shouldn't do something. Yeah. Isn't it time we actually said, let's try something, let's do something, and if it works, it works. The sad reality is we seem to get diverted away from them sort of
Let me come back, Andy, don't you think it's worth a try, national service, in some form?
Possibly, but not on the level that it was in, pre-1960s. There just isn't the need for it anymore.
So we've got a possibly. So we've got some. Let's not tar all young people with the same brush. It's just a minority. Some people go on to further education. Some people young people go on to apprenticeships or whatever, and lead quite a normal life, a good life. But there is that minority that we need to target. I feel in this country, and it's only going to get worse, Norman.
Well, it's not a point of there's not a need. What there is a point of is children are lost. Now, the thing is, if you learn a bit of discipline, respect, then you're going to be able to have something in life to aim for. The sad reality of Britain today is what made Britain great once was moral fibre, community spirit and respect. When I was a child, I had that. I was taught that. And many of us were given a good hiding by schools and goodness knows what. And we knew right from wrong. Nowadays, the parameters of children's acceptable and unacceptable behaviour has been pushed so far that they don't know. So why not for a year go out and meet like-minded people, ex-old Bill, ex-military, serving military, learn them skills in life, respect, community spirit and moral fibre. Then you've got a chance for the future.
Have we lost our moral fibre?
No, I just think it's changed. It's like, it's a very different world to when it was when we had national service. A lot of people are more equal. Women have a lot more rights. Minority ethnic groups have a lot more rights. National service was introduced so then we could populate the army. That's why that's why it existed. We don't need to populate the army now. And I don't think sending kids off to Harrogate for a year will fix anything. I think what you need to do is start with educational reforms. Push the skills that they will actually use in the real world, because then they'll engage with schools and be driven off the street.
Because in the real world, in places like where we're from, Ashford and Mansfield, there's not a big problem with knife crime and guns, but there is, for example, in London. Why is that?
I really don't know, to be honest with you. I would probably say there's always, in Nottingham, our closest city, there is issues with gun and knife crime. It's probably an urban versus rural issue. It was called Shottingham for a while, in fact, wasn't it? So I think it's probably an urban versus rural issue on that.
Let's talk about a country that has got national service, and that's Israel. And we've seen the problems Israel's having at the moment. Awful scenes we're seeing over there. Absolutely makes me weep. But we see in this country, again, protesters out on the streets in London mostly, demonstrating and cheering as if they've won the World Cup. It sickens me to the core, Norman. Do you think our police should be taking a more robust approach?
Absolutely. I watched the news the same as you and everyone else, and I saw the police doing their best, but many saw them standing back. Fair play to the police. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. A police officer gets a complaint. often that complaint could last a year to 3 years to be investigated. And some of these officers want to become a sergeant, they want to specialise, everything's put on hold, and they're not backed up. And when you've got weak management that have lost the ability to lead with a vision and have a focus on how to defend their officers, I'm afraid these officers won't be able to do the job that you and I and the public expect.